Welcome back. In this lecture, we will be setting up our pages. Now, the pages are the different sections of our website that's going to help all of our visitors navigate to different areas. For example, right now we have the home page, that's this page. We have an about page, which is going to be about us and our company, our brand. We have a blog page. We have a shop page for all of our products. We have the search, we have the account, and we have the cart. We have tons of pages that we get for free because of the starter kit, which is amazing. What we are going to do is make sure that we only have the pages that we actually need and then name them correctly. So you might have noticed we are doing our design from the top and working our way down. So we're going to set our pages and then move on with designing this entire menu later on. So to get started, we're going to go up and move down to the dashboard. Then we're going to go to Pages, All Pages. Now, when we install a starter kit, we usually get duplicates of all the different pages. So the first thing we want to do is just remove all of the duplicates that we have. You'll notice which duplicates that are actually in use because it will say so. For example, the cart is being used as the cart page. The checkout is being used as the checkout page. So that means that this cart is overflowing. That's just an unnecessary duplicate. And this checkout is also unnecessary. So we're going to start from the top and just follow along with me. We're going to mark all of the duplicates, this my account as well. And then we have a privacy policy we're going to leave. Refund and returns, we're going to remove one of those. We're going to remove both sample pages and we're going to remove one shop. Then we're going to move up to where it says bulk actions and move to trash and hit apply. There we go, another problem gone. Now we're going to name the different pages accordingly to how we want to present ourselves and our brand. So for example, about page, I think that is a good name to keep as an about page. It's going to be about us, or rather about the client's brand. It could also be a contact page, but what we are going to do is that we are going to create this about page to be about the brand, and we're going to add a contact section further down on it, but that's later on. But just so we know what we're working with here. The cart is going to be called cart. That makes a lot of sense. Checkout, my account, same. The blog page, however, is going to be changed. So what I'm going to do is go down to quick edit and just change this name. Modern e-commerces don't really have blogs. They have something that like articles or they have a science page. They need to create blog posts, but usually they don't have an actual blog if it's a brand. If it's a personal brand, you might have a blog about you. So we're going to modernize it a little bit and we're going to call this Explore. Now, the Explore page is going to be all about the product's benefits, the different things it can do. So all we're going to do is we're going to change the title to Explore, and then the slug, that is going to be the actual URL. So it's going to be smartflowbottle.com/explore. And we want to use small letters here. We can use a capital letter on the actual title. Explore is just a more modern word than blog. It could be articles, but we want to present ourselves, especially with the product we're selling, as a more modern company, as a more modern brand. So again, when it comes to working with your client, you have to keep that in mind, how you name your pages. Then I'm gonna click on update. We can keep my front page just to be called my front page. We're not actually going to use it as a button on the menu. Rather, we're just going to use our logo as our home page so we can remove an entire button. Just makes things cleaner and more modern. And then we have the privacy policy. We'll come to that in a bit. Refunds and returns, there will also be in a bit. And then the shop, I think the shop should be called shop. But we could also call it, for example, bottles, because we're selling different water bottles, of course. But again, shop is just a very clean and nice name. So keep this in mind when you're naming your pages. Once we've named all of the pages as we want them, we're going to move into our privacy policy by just clicking on it. and then click this down. Now, a privacy policy is just outlining how you are using the user's information. And by law, you need to have a proper privacy policy where you're transparent with what you do with the user's information. It's required law in Europe, in the US. There's just no way around it. We need to make sure we have a proper privacy policy. And because it's quite complicated and we want to be on the safe side, I recommend that we use a generator. So if you go to the resources section, there will be a privacy policy generator right there that's going to be a lot better than the one we get as a default here. It will be one made by Shopify, it will be more detailed, and it will also be easier to fill in. So just go ahead and open it up, and then we're going to fill out all of this information quickly. And when you're filling out this information, remember, you're filling out the address for the client's business address. And then make sure that you check my website uses cookies, because we will for sure be using cookies. More about what that is and how that works later on. And then click on send me my privacy policy. Then I'm going to click on download now. And here it is. So all I'm going to do is that I'm going to look for the last note to merchant. Make sure that you read this, by the way. I'm going to look for the last note to merchant, where it says our business name here, and then I'm going to select all of it, go all the way down like this. I'm going to copy it, head back here, I'm going to select all of this text, remove it, and then where it says type to choose a block in here, I'm just going to paste it in. And we get a ton of different information, and of course we can spend some time changing this up, making it a little more readable. And the way to do this is just hitting enter wherever you want to make a space. And then all we need to do is look for the brackets. So last updated should be the current date. So all we're going to do now is just scroll through the document and look for the brackets where we can see the date up here. And then we're going to remove these brackets in the middle because we're not using any of Shopify's ad services. We're going to remove this as well because we're not using any of Shopify stuff. And we don't have a child-focused site, so we're going to remove this part as well. Now, before moving on, make sure that you read through all of this information and that you change the date to your current date so you know what you're actually working with. And then we're going to move to the right and click on Publish. And now we're going to have a proper privacy policy for our website. But there's still some more steps we need to take. Can I click on publish without launching? We're not quite there yet. We're going to head back by clicking on the logo up here. We are going to change the name from privacy policy, and we're going to just change it to privacy. Now, this is just something that I prefer to do because, again, less words and more of a modern look. Click on update. And the next legal page is going to be terms and conditions. We don't have a template for that here, so we're going to create a new one. We're going to go up and click on add new page. And rather than naming it terms and conditions, we're just going to name it terms, just like this. And then we're going to use the Shopify generator once again. So go to the resources and click on the terms and conditions generator link. Once again, we're just going to fill up all of our information. Make sure that you have my website uses cookies and click on send me my terms of service policy. So what is a terms of service? Well, it's basically you explaining that whatever other people are going to be doing on our website is going to be under their own responsibility. That we, as the website owner, or rather your client, are not responsible for whatever happens to the visitors that come to the website. So we're just making a very clear distinction that you're on here on your own terms and we're not responsible for whatever you go through when you're visiting our site. Especially given that there is some lawsuit culture in some countries, we want to avoid all the possibilities we can of breaking any laws and having anyone sue us. So with that done, we're going to click on download now. So we're going to start at overview, select all of this wonderful text all the way down to the bottom there, copy it, make sure that it says type to choose a block, and in here, paste it all in. There we go. And once again, we can format it a little bit if we want to. Just look for wherever there's a capital, like the capital A here. I hit enter. There's a capital O, hit enter. There's a new section, hit enter. Capital Y. So it's just a little bit easier to read. And then once again, we want to make sure we look for the brackets in here. So down in section 10, we have one that talks about personal information, and it asks us to link to our privacy policy. So all we're going to do is move up here, click on open link in new tab, go over back to pages. Here is our privacy. We're just going to right click on where it says view, copy link address, head back, and then put our link in here. So I'm going to remove this, paste it in, and there it is, smartflowbottle.com/privacy, and it's linked to our privacy policy. Scroll down to see if there are any more brackets, and I couldn't find any more brackets. I'm gonna go up to where it says publish, publish, still not ready to launch. That's later on, so publish without launching. And then we're gonna head back, go down to refund and returns, click on edit. And then I'm just gonna remove a couple of things. For example, where it says this is a sample page. So now all we want to do is just scroll down and go through the refunds and returns policies and understand what is the text saying and what are the practices that I or my clients actually have. It's very, very, very important that in the end, when you are working with clients, that you make sure that their privacy policies are going to be their responsibility. You can give them a basic template the way we're doing, but in the end, especially if it's a bigger company, they need to make sure that their legal teams write up their own privacy policy, their own terms, and their own refunds and returns policies. It's all based on the company. But most of the time, if you're working with smaller businesses and they don't have a legal team and they don't have these things already, giving them a template like this is a fantastic idea just to keep them on the legal and safe side. So you just need some basic information to know. So for example, how long time can pass before returning is no longer allowed? And if you're selling digital products, are they allowed for any refunds whatsoever? What's your policies? Read through it and then make sure that it is correct with yours or the client's policies. I'm going to hit publish, publish, publish without launching, go back, just click on quick edit and change the name to refunds and change the slug to refunds as well. Click on update just because fewer letters, more modern look is going to fit in with our branding. And that's all for our pages. Now let's move on to the next lecture and continue designing our actual header menu. See you in the next lecture.